Hello and welcome to your own YouTube channel, and I hope you will be doing great. Today we are going to talk about the age of Chaucer, and I thought it would be a great idea to talk about at least the age of Chaucer and the characteristics feature of the age before talking about the Chaucer, his most important works, and his contemporaries. I thought it would be a great idea to provide at least a one video talking about the age of the Chaucer, the ups and downs and upheavals which were taking place in this age, and that is the reason that I am providing this video for understanding of the age, the transitions which were taking place at the time. Introduction. The age of Chaucer is the first significant period in the literary history of England. It was the first significant period. In every walk of life, there was a sign of change. Every aspect of life, there was a sign of change. Transitions were making their way. The social, political, religious, and literary changes were taking place everywhere. Everywhere there were signs of change in every field, like social, political, religious, and literary changes were taking place. In short, it was an age of change, an age of transition. The age of Chaucer was a transitional age. It means that changes were taking place at every aspect of life. The medievalism was departing and modernism was developing slowly. The concept of medievalism was disappearing slowly from the field, and at the same time the concept of modernism was developing itself slowly and gradually. Wycliffe and his followers were showing the seeds of reformation. Wycliffe, who is known for the reformation movement, this man was showing the seeds of reformation. They were making attack upon the church, especially they were attacking church. Individualism was being emphasized. They talk about subjectivity rather than objectivity. They mainly focus on individual, a person, his own feeling, rather than objective reality. Military events were contributing the growth of patriotism and national conscience. On the other hand, military events were taking place, and it contributes to the growth of patriotism and national consciousness in the youth. The industrial development was giving rise to the middle and working classes. On the other hand, industrial development was also taking place. It led to the end of feudal system. शाही प्रथा का इससे अंत हो गया. In this way, we find that the age of Chaucer was an era of transition, and we can clearly say that this era was the era of change, the era of transition. Growth of national sentiment. The age of Chaucer witnessed the beginning of 100 Years' War. England was at war with Scotland and France. This war brought great victories in the Battle of Crecy and Poitiers. And 100-year war began in 1337 to till 1453. And this war changed the fate of England a lot. And the English people, the England win the Battle of Crecy and Poitiers. The consciousness of national unity was strengthened. The war gave a feeling of national pride and self-respect to the people of England. They become more self-respected, and they had a national pride. The national life got purified and powerful national sentiment grew. And what this war did is that the national life through this war got purified, and the powerful national sentiments, powerful national you can say consciousness grew in between the people of England. Black Death, famine, and social unrest. The age of Chaucer faced natural calamities, social natural disaster, and social unrest. the feeling of unrest, the disorder were taking place at that time. And at the same time, the England was passing through calamities, the disasters were taking place. Plagues and pestilence, constitutional conflict, and unorthodoxy came to the forefront. All these kinds of evils and you can say were taking place, like plagues, pestilence, disease, and constitutional conflicts and unorthodox came to the forefront. In 1348 to 49 came the terrible Black Death. It was the time period of it, 1348 to 49. It shook the social fabric violently. A large number of people died due to this disaster, this you can say horrible Black Death. It reappeared in 1362, 1367, and 1370. This Black Death reappeared in this time in 1362, 1367, and 1370. Famine followed plague. After famine, it comes the time of plague. Vagrants and thieves multiplied. There were many kinds of crimes were taking place, and people were becoming victim of all of them. Labor became scarce. Labor was not to large extent. It was becoming less and less day by day. Heavy taxation was imposed, and the state imposed the heavy tax on the people. The toll tax brought about the peasants' revolt. And what happened with this toll tax? And that the peasants' revolt took place due to this toll tax, due to this heavy toll tax. This revolt was a clear sign of social tension and unrest. Why this revolt happened? Because it was a clear sign, because people of the age was feeling full of tension, and they were feeling like unrestful. That is the reason that this revolt of peasants' revolt had happened in England. The corruption of the church. In the age of Chaucer, the church was the seat of power and prestige. At the time of Chaucer, at the age of Chaucer, the church was very powerful. It was infected with corruption. But the main thing is that now the corruption was at its height in the church. The churchmen were fond of wealth and luxuries. They were paying attention towards wealth, and their lives were full of comforts and luxuries. They indulged themselves in all sort of vices instead of doing goodness. They indulged themselves in vices. They lived in a godless and worldly way. They were becoming too much materialistic. I said why in the world is too much with us. By William Wordsworth. They separated themselves to God, and they lived the life of a materialistic, like a worldly life. John Wycliffe, the morning star of Reformation, led an attack upon the growing corruption of the church. This man, John Wycliffe, who is known from the title the morning star of Reformation. This point must be remembered. Sometimes this kind of question is asked, that who is known as the morning star of Reformation. The answer is John Wycliffe. This man had done tremendous effort in the field of church to improve the church, to reform the church, and this man attacked upon the growing corruption of the church. The new learning. The age of Chaucer marked the dawn of new learning. New knowledge were also taking place, and this generation paves the way for new learning. It brought about a change in the general outlook of the change, the attitude of the age. The people of the time were changed due to you can say a new learning. Man's intellectual horizon expanded, their knowledge, their intellect was expanding, becoming vast day by day. He began to make effort to liberate himself from the shackles of theological slavery, and the man was separating himself from the shackles of theological slavery, the religious slavery, you can see. He was getting freedom from all these kind of shackles. Two Italian writers, Petrarch and Boccaccio, were the pioneers of this great revival, and these two men are very very important, Petrarch and Boccaccio, the Italian writers who were the pioneers of the great revival. What beneath the medievalism, the heaven of Renaissance was already at work. The Renaissance, for the first time, it came in Italy, and this was the revival of the learning, the intellect, the individualism. The modern world was in the process of being born, and the concept of modernism was gradually running towards its goal. Conclusion. Thus, in the age of Chaucer, a curious modern note began to be apparent. The modern, you can say, modernity was apparent in the age of Chaucer, because modernity was growing. It paving the way towards modernity, the age of Chaucer. There was a sharper spirit of criticism. Criticism was taking place, like Reformation, like in church, the Wycliffe, the morning star of Reformation. He was criticizing the church. This kind of criticism was taking place, and it was the spirit of time. The vogue of romance was passing. In the age, there was a spirit of revolt, and romance, the vogue of romance, you can say fashion. Vogue means fashion. Of romance was passing. It was gradually disappearing from the, you can say, from the this phase. In this age, there was a spirit of revolt of every kind. It was revolt against state, as the peasants revolt due to the heavy taxation which was imposed by government. On the other hand, it was a revolt against church. All kinds of revolt were taking place. The people were becoming rebellious. The church was losing her great hold upon the masses of people, because of the it was gradually the spirit of a nation was coming. That is the reason that the masses were becoming intellectual and full of wisdom, and they were discarding all kind of theological ideologies, and that is the reason that church was losing its influence. Reformation was in process. The light of new learning was shining. New learning were taking place. People were becoming more scientific, you can say. This age was given people proper voice by Chaucer, and this was the man, the Chaucer, who has given the proper voice in his work. And thank you for this lecture, for today's lecture. Thank you. I hope you will like my effort. Thank you. Thanks again.